Hi, I'm Peter Tragos, host of the Lawyer You Know podcast and YouTube channel. The saying goes, everyone hates lawyers until you need one. Well, I'm here when you need one to answer your questions and give you insight that you didn't know you needed. Along with my partners, Pete Sardis, the professor, who has a finance and business background, and George Tragos, my dad, and the consigliere, a criminal defense giant, we can answer any questions you have. What's up, everybody? It's Amber versus the insurance companies in today's video, and I'm actually really excited about today's video. All of you that sent it to me again on Twitter and Instagram, thank you so much. The bat signal again was up in the air, so we're here with another Sunday live stream. And if you want to get into the conversation on Twitter and Instagram, at Tragos Law, here is my handle. Most of you follow me on there already. If you don't, check it out. We talk about a lot of stuff like this. I answer some quick ones if I can just type them out and however many characters, but most of the time I get a lot of video content there. And today is no different than that. But this is very interesting. And like I said, I'm very excited about this video because this is what I do. I fight with insurance companies all the time on behalf of clients. And we have multiple deck actions, which is what these complaints are. They're looking for declaratory relief. We'll talk about what that means. But we have multiple deck actions right now in court against insurance companies trying to force the court to say, insurance company, you have to do this. Or we are disagreeing about what a policy says, what a policy means, whether or not they have to cover a claim because they love denying claims. So we are going to dig in. We're going to give real world, real life examples of what happens in these kinds of cases. They are very different than your average case, very different than a defamation case. A lot of the times, I don't know if I'll say most of the time, both of ours are likely going to be bench trials. We have one that might be a jury trial, but we litigate cases like this all the time. And we'll talk about what you can get in discovery, what you can't, but we may have found a situation where I actually may be Team Amber. And we're going to talk about why. Before you leave, I hope that at least after this video, if you're not Team Amber, that's fine. But after this video, at least hopefully it'll make you think as to, in this situation, who's right. And see if you really can come into a situation being unbiased from our preconceived notions of what we may think about the credibility of Amber Heard and what she says, but how that may differ when we're talking about a case like this. Now, if she takes the stand in any case, it's going to be hard for a lot of us that watch the trial to believe what she says. But we'll also talk about whether or not Johnny Depp would be Team Amber in this situation. Because I think Johnny Depp should be Team Amber in these cases with Amber versus the insurance companies. I really do. I'm not saying Team Amber versus Johnny Depp, right? We're talking about versus the insurance companies. And like I said, I think Johnny Depp wants Amber Heard to win these cases, or he should. Let's talk about why. We're also going to talk about bad faith litigation. Bad faith litigation. And how many times adverse parties can end up being on the same side against an insurance company. It is not all that rare. It is not all that rare that we sue somebody and a plaintiff's lawyer wins a big verdict, and then that defendant actually hires the plaintiff's lawyer that just busted them in court to litigate a case against the insurance company. We're going to talk about that a little bit later in the video. But without further ado, we are going to jump into these complaints. We're going to read both complaints. A lot of you said there's not just one, there's two. We're going to read both. We're going to start with the two insurance companies complaint, and then we're going to get to the more recent one. And we're going to go through the entirety of these complaints. If you haven't liked the video already, hit that like button. 50% of you still aren't subscribed. I know you like to date around a little bit, like Lego Batman says. He's not exclusive. He likes to date around. Hit that subscribe button. Let's get committed here. And let's talk about these complaints. All right, first complaint. Travelers Insurance Company v. New York Marine and General Insurance Company. We'll just call it New York Marine and Travelers for the most part. General allegations. And just here. Complaint for declaratory relief and equitable contribution of defense expenses. And this is going to be very different from a lot of you who follow a lot of civil cases and you think about liability, meaning who's at fault, who caused the damages, and how much are the damages going to be. That's not really what we have here. These two complaints are asking a judge or a jury to determine something, make a determination, and force the other side to do something, not necessarily pay damages, although there is some money that may exchange hands at the end of this case. General allegations. Introduction. Defendant New York Marine, their failure to meet their obligations to provide its and travelers mutual insured, which is Amber Heard, with independent counsel and other counsel necessary to defend their insured is a breach of its insurance policy and its obligations under California law, and has unfairly forced travelers to pay New York Marine's proper share of defense costs. Travelers has been damaged by this conduct, and it is entitled to judgment in the form of a declaration that New York Marine was obligated to provide the mutual insured with independent counsel. Moreover, under the doctrine of equitable contribution, Travelers is entitled to reimbursement from New York Marine of half of the money that Travelers has spent thus far to defend their mutual insured with independent counsel and other counsel, experts, and vendors, while New York Marine has wrongfully refused to do so. So I'm going to pause there real quick and say, I'm going to save this complaint. Because if I have a situation where Travelers refuses to defend one of their clients against me and denies that claim and doesn't provide a defense and doesn't pay for experts for their client, I will use their own language against them because I agree with them. Insurance companies should do what they're contractually obligated to do. They should do that. Jurisdiction and venue. Plaintiff Travelers is now, at all relevant times, was a corporation. We don't need to read this. This just is the parties. Court has original jurisdiction. Court has personal jurisdiction. Venue is proper. Okay. Underlying defamation action. We know what that case is about, right? That is the Johnny Depp win in court. New York Marine's insurance coverage and its refusal to provide independent counsel as required. Here's where we get to the juicy part. New York Marine issued commercial general liability insurance, policy number X. It covered, among other things, sums which the insured is legally obligated to pay as damages of personal injury. If anybody has an insurance policy, you know that they use terms. I'm not reading the complaint now. You know that they use terms, and those terms have definitions. And as we always say on this channel, words are important and definitions are important. Insurance policies define these terms. They define them very specifically. And personal injury caused by an occurrence is defined within this insurance policy. I wish I had a copy of the insurance policy because this is what I do. I read insurance policies, right? And I break them down. I see what coverage is available. I see how to get that coverage. So, all right, where were we? All right, personal injury includes, this is the definition. I'm not sure what's happening with the mods. They're just posting, oh, I guess Kurt's in the chat, but they're popping up random comments here while I'm reading. But here we go. Personal injury includes oral or written publication of material that slanders or libels a person, and an occurrence is defined in pertinent part as an incident. The New York Marine policy promised a defense to any lawsuit seeking such damages. The mutual insurance tendered the underlying action to New York Marine, which designated the matter as claim number X, and agreed to defend the mutual insured under a reservation of rights issued on October 1st, 2019. The terms of New York Marine's reservation triggered the rights of its insured to be defended by independent counsel of the mutual insured's choosing at New York Marine's expense. New York Marine instead appointed defense counsel of its choice, and it repeatedly refused demands by the mutual insured and by Travelers to participate in the defense with counsel of mutual insured's choosing. In other words, New York Marine intentionally violated its duty to its mutual insured and to travelers under the New York Marine policy and under California law. We're going to pause here for another second. And we're going to say, this is something that happens in basically every case. When the insurance company defends an insured, they choose the lawyer. I actually have, in another case, the letter that they write to an insured, which says, we will choose the lawyer, we will pay for the lawyer, they represent you. But in reality, these lawyers represent what's best for the insurance companies. But here, this insurance company, Travelers, is saying they should have paid for a lawyer that was chosen by Amber Heard. And you guys don't probably catch the gravity of this, that Travelers is saying they should have let Amber Heard choose the lawyers and then split it as the insurance company paying for it, which to me is wild because the insurance company always chooses the lawyer. Travelers provides independent counsel. Travelers issued homeowners policy number blank to the mutual insured for the policy period of November 18th to November 19th, November of 2019. The mutual insured tendered the underlying action to Travelers, which accepted their tender under the reservation of rights and agreed to provide the mutual insured with the defense with independent counsel of the mutual insured's choosing. Proper defense by Travelers and deceptive refusal by New York Marine. Travelers and New York Marine each owed their mutual insured a defense with independent counsel of the mutual insured's choice. Travelers is providing that, and New York Marine has not. Worse, New York Marine has indicated that after trial, it will likely attempt to deny coverage for any award against the mutual insured based on its reservation of rights, which we know, because fast forward to this complaint, they are doing. Under these facts, New York Marine should have agreed to provide the mutual insured with a defense with independent counsel of the mutual insured's choosing, meaning Amber Heard should have been able to choose her lawyers, which I agree with. Most of the time, insurance companies do not. From the day New York Marine received the tender. To the extent Travelers has paid those sums, New York Marine must reimburse Travelers half. First claim for relief, declaratory relief. Travelers incorporates paragraphs. Although New York Marine was and is obligated to provide the mutual insured with independent counsel, New York Marine has failed and refused to share in the defense of the mutual insured by independent counsel, pay defense costs or expenses, or reimburse Travelers for a proportionate share of independent counsel's fees, costs, or expenses incurred in connection with the underlying action, all of which have been paid by Travelers. Accordingly, Travelers seeks a declaration that New York Marine had and has an obligation to defend the mutual insured in the underlying action with independent counsel. Travelers further seeks a declaration that New York Marine has an obligation to reimburse Travelers half of the fees, costs, and expenses it has paid and continues to pay in the defense of the mutual insured in the underlying action. Second claim for relief, equitable contribution of defense expenses in underlying action. Travelers incorporates the allegations of paragraphs 1 through whatever. Travelers has spent substantial sums. Me thinks it may be around $6 million so far toward the mutual insured's defense in the underlying action with independent counsel of the mutual insured's choosing, as well as other counsel, experts, and vendors necessary to defend the lawsuit. They have paid for all those experts we talked about throughout the trial. The case continues, and the amount incurred by Travelers continues to grow. Travelers has demanded that New York Marine reimburse Travelers for half of the attorney's fees, costs, and expenses of defending their mutual insured in the underlying action through counsel of the mutual insured's choosing, including those sums going forward. I hope Travelers lets all of their car accident insureds choose their lawyers too, which they don't. New York Marine owes that, but it has refused to pay it. Travelers seeks a money judgment of equitable contribution of half of the attorney's fees, costs, and expenses of defending the underlying action through counsel of the mutual insured's choosing. Prayer for relief. What do they want? They want a declaration that New York Marine was and is obligated to defend the mutual insured Amber Heard in the underlying action through independent counsel of Amber Heard's choosing, enjoin New York Marine from refusing to participate in the defense of the underlying action via independent counsel and the mutual insured's choosing, meaning force them to get in the game and pay their part. Award Travelers a money judgment of half of the attorney's fees, costs, and expenses it has paid and continues to pay, defending the mutual insured in their underlying action through counsel of the mutual insured's choosing, award interest of 10%, award costs of the suit, and award all other relief which the court finds just and proper. So I don't see attorney's fees here, but I will tell you here, in our cases that have a deck action, attorney's fees and costs go to the prevailing party in a deck action. You might ask why. Because the court doesn't want to have to play referee on these things, especially with insurance companies. You guys, meaning the insurance companies, should know this. You're a $1 billion industry. You should not have to tell judges to tell you to do what you're contractually obligated to do. So when you don't do it and somebody has to file a deck action and we rule in their favor, you have to pay all of the attorney's fees and costs for making them do this. And I think that's what's going to happen here. Although they only ask for costs, it probably may be statutory there. I don't know what the rules are there. But here in Florida, they have to pay the attorney's fees and costs to the prevailing party. So let's talk a little bit about what this means. This is kind of a mess, and there's so much going on here that's very interesting. So they're asking for New York Marine to pay half of the attorney's fees, costs, expert fees, things like that. So I will tell you that while I do think New York Marine should have to share in this cost, there is a lot of factual nuance that's going to be important. Because just because Amber Heard wants to do something does not mean that the insurance companies have to pay for it. So she could have said, I want 1,000 experts. I want you to spend $1 billion. That doesn't mean they have to pay for it. There has to be a reasonableness factor. So even if New York Marine is on the hook for part of these fees and costs defending the claim, they are allowed to say, I don't think we needed that expert. I don't think Elaine's fees are reasonable. I want to hire a $250 an hour to represent Elaine, not a $600 an hour. Those are the arguments New York Marine is going to make, because we're going to get to some of the factual background in their complaint that they filed. But just looking at this complaint, there's a lot of facts we don't know. Did New York Marine try to help? Did they offer their services? Were they shut out? Were they kept in the dark? Were they told, don't ask questions, just foot the bill? Because insurance companies don't like that. And my guess is New York Marine does not like that. But what else do we learn here? Is it Travelers that's paid $6 million in Amber Heard's defense? So did they lead the jury to believe that Amber Heard paid $6 million when actually it was Travelers? And a lot of people mentioned they had heard about these insurance companies paying for this. And I said, man, that would be really unusual. I would be very surprised. Well, color me surprised, because it seems like they have. And it seems like this insurance policy does, in fact, cover defamation and libel and slander, which is very, very interesting. Travelers is an insurance company. So people are saying people are confused. So Amber Heard's insurance company, she's got two insurance companies that could potentially be on the hook. They're fighting with each other to say, I don't have to pay. Yes, you do have to pay. We should share in the cost. No, I'm not paying the cost. I want to choose a lawyer. No, Amber should choose the lawyer. They're fighting about all sorts of different things. Just because it's a $1 million policy doesn't mean that they're limited to paying $1 million in attorney's fees. That just means they're limited to paying $1 million in the verdict or the judgment or the settlement. And Amber would have to pay anything over $1 million. So I think if this is true, that Travelers footed this bill, and I think that if they said it in open court, that they basically inferred or told the jury that Amber paid $6 million. If I was Johnny Depp's lawyers, I would have fought that, and I would have said, Judge, you need to either instruct the jury that Amber Heard did not personally pay $6 million, or you should tell them that her insurance paid $6 million. Now, insurance lobbyist firms all across the country have non-joinder statutes basically everywhere where you can't talk about insurance. But this was not fair and frankly a lie to tell the jury that Amber Heard paid $6 million if her insurance company covered any of it. And I have a problem with that. I don't like misleading juries. So I have a huge problem with that, and the judge should have instructed this jury otherwise. But as I'm reading this complaint, the way I feel right now is both of these insurance companies should have absolutely paid for the defense of this case, and they should tender this money to Johnny Depp. But are they going to do that? Well, at this point, we know at least one of them is not going to. Let's get to that complaint. If you haven't hit the like button already, go ahead and hit that like button as I'm bringing up complaint number 2, which is New York Marine versus Amber Heard. Hit that like button, subscribe to our page if you haven't already. But we're digging into complaints with insurance companies suing each other. People are saying they don't know what I'm talking about. So the title of the video and what a bunch of you sent me was these 2 complaints. The first one was travelers suing New York Marine, saying you should share in the cost of defense for Amber Heard because they both have written Amber Heard insurance policies. One's a homeowner, I think one's just general liability. These policies potentially cover libel, slander, and defamation. So if you have an insurance policy that covers this cause of action, then you should have to pay for the defense and potentially pay for the damages. So we first broke down the 2 insurance companies suing each other. And now we have New York Marine suing Amber Heard for declaratory judgment, a deck action. So let's read this. Again, complaint for declaratory relief and a demand for a jury trial. Jurisdiction is proper. The parties. Let's get to the allegations. New York Marine issued an insurance policy to Amber Heard for the period of July of 2018 to July of 2019 with a per occurrence limit of $1 million. I'm not sure what the traveler's policy is. I also have not read this policy. Apparently, it's attached as Exhibit A. It would be interesting to read through it. Maybe another video. If you guys want that video breaking down the actual policy, let me know in the comments. The policy includes a comprehensive personal liability coverage part, which provides coverages for damages because of bodily injury. And they put these in quotes because they define these terms: property damage or personal injury caused by an occurrence to which the coverage applies. The policy defines personal injury to mean injury other than bodily injury arising out of one or more enumerated offenses, including in the policy, which includes oral or written publication of materials that slanders or libels a person or organization, including other forms of defamation, and oral and written publication of material, including other forms of defamation that violates a person's right of privacy. So I want you to look at paragraph 10. And if this was in your insurance policy, take Amber Heard out of the equation for a second, okay? Because I have a question for you all, potential jurors out there, lay people out there. You all have insurance policies, probably homeowners, car insurance, general liability, umbrella coverages, whatever it may be. If you had an insurance policy and paragraph 10 was in there and you got sued for defamation and you lost, what would you think? Would you think you were covered? Would you think they should pay for the damages up to the policy limit amount if you sued and lost? Do you think they should cover you? Because I do. I think they should cover you if you're sued for defamation and they are covering you in their policy for a personal injury defined by defamation and defined as defamation. What would you think? Because that matters, I will tell you. When a judge looks at this, or when a jury looks at this, and Amber Heard says, how am I supposed to think that I'm not covered here? All right, the underlying lawsuit, we know about this. Johnny Depp sued Amber Heard and won. Jury instructions here. She made her publish the following statements. There was actual malice. The statements are quoted. Jury instruction, verdict form, statement was about Depp. It was false. It was defamatory. She made it with actual malice. We know all this. Verdict came down. They answered yes. $10 million plus $5 million, reduced to $350,000. So let's talk about what they are suing Amber Heard for. Plaintiff incorporates by reference all of the allegations of paragraph 1 through 26. California Insurance Code provides that an insurer is not liable for a loss caused by the willful act of the insured, but he is not exonerated by the negligence of the insured or of the insured's agents or others. This provision is an implied exclusionary clause, which by statute is read in to all insurance policies under California law. Well, ain't that something? Paragraph 28, which a lot of you have already been quoting. I realize you've seen other people break this down. That's fine. That's fine. Everybody wants to explain to you how Amber Heard is going to get screwed and how Amber Heard is going to lose. Fine. If that's what everybody wants to say, fine. But that is not how I look at things. I look at each individual case as what I think is the just outcome. This is called the civil justice system, not vengeance, not revenge, not let's get them. And just stick with me. If you guys disagree, that's fine. As you know, we're going to get into comments and questions later. I get it. So, this paragraph 28 says, the insurer, meaning this insurance company, is not liable for a loss caused by the willful conduct of the insured. And do you guys remember? Somebody told you this during the trial. I'm sure lots of people. I'm just saying, I know one person told you this, and that person was me. I told you usually insurance companies won't cover willful, intentional torts. They usually do not cover defamation. That's why I said that. And I was wrong. This policy apparently does cover defamation. Yet, even though they cover defamation by enumeration in the policy, they are saying that this is an implied exclusionary clause that is read into all insurance policies. So let me tell you what that means. That means that Amber Heard is paying for this insurance policy, paying to be covered for defamation. Take out of the equation whether it's right or wrong to defame somebody. We know it's wrong to defame somebody. It's wrong to have your house in a dangerous condition. It's wrong to leave water on the floor. It's wrong to leave wires out. It's wrong to not put a pool fence around your pool and a kid falls in it and drowns. We know all of that. We know those things are wrong, but it doesn't mean insurance can't cover them. Insurance does cover them. So Amber Heard is paying for coverage for defamation. She gets sued for defamation. And this big 11-page multi-count complaint is basically the insurance company denying that claim and refusing to cover their insured for coverages she paid for at least 12 months. So at the very least, they should return her premiums, right? The jury's factual findings establish that Heard's liability is caused by the willful act. I agree with them there. As a result, a matter of California public policy and pursuant to California Insurance Code, Section 533, the policy does not provide coverage, reflected in the judgment order entered on June 24th, meaning that it was a willful act. An actual controversy has arisen and now exists between plaintiff on the one hand and Heard on the other. With regard to the duties and obligations owed between plaintiff and Heard under the policy with respect to the judgment order, plaintiff contends that it had no duty to indemnify Heard for the judgment ordered entered on June 24th, meaning they don't have to pay that judgment. Plaintiff is informed and believes, and on such information belief, that Heard disputes plaintiff's contention and asserts that the policy provides indemnity coverage for Heard. Due to the actual and present controversy described above pursuant to 28 U.S.C. 2201, plaintiff requests a judicial declaration of the rights, meaning a judge has to decide who's right or wrong. Do they have to cover this? Plaintiff has no obligation to indemnify Heard. Second cause of action, declaratory relief as to plaintiff's duty to indemnify Heard for any judgment in the underlying action. California Insurance Code provides that an insurer is not liable for loss of willful act. Actual controversy has arisen. Due to that controversy, they want to make a decision. This is basically saying the same thing over and over again. So we're going to skip down to prayer for relief. What do they want? They want a judgment declaring that plaintiff has no duty to indemnify Heard for the judgment order entered on June 24th. Plaintiff has no duty to indemnify Heard for any liability in the circuit court case against Johnny Depp. Plaintiff has no duty to defend Heard on an ongoing basis, paying for appeals, in the underlying action or in connection with any appeal of the judgment. Award New York Marine its costs and grant such further relief as the court deems just and appropriate. So that's the end of the complaint. So I realize everybody's crushing me in the chat. Everybody's saying it's willful. They can't possibly rule in favor of her. So there's a couple different ways we can do this. A couple different ways. I guess I could go to the questions now. I do want to talk about bad faith. But first, let me talk about this. Why would Johnny want Amber to win? And a lot of you already said it in the chat. If I'm Johnny, I want these insurance companies to cover Amber. Because obviously, that'll help Johnny get at least some of these funds. I don't know if they're both $1 million policies, but let's say they are. That's $2 million more coming Johnny Depp's way rather quickly versus waiting for Amber Heard to ever have the money. She may file bankruptcy. Even if she files bankruptcy, the insurance companies can still pay these $1 million. So Amber Heard or Johnny Depp should want these policies to apply. I see people saying, I want her to pay. Let's make her pay. It's a lot harder to squeeze money out of an individual, I don't care how much money they do have, than it is out of insurance companies. And if she paid for this insurance, she deserves to have the benefit of that insurance. Just one man's opinion. And actually, before we get to some of the questions, bad faith. What is bad faith? Bad faith is when the insurance company does what they're not supposed to do. They act in a way that screws their insured. They do not act in good faith. A lot of people understand that concept, acting in good faith, right? Do what you're supposed to do. Do what you're supposed to do. Act in good faith. And there are two different ways I see New York Marine potentially acting in bad faith. The first is they may potentially cover this. Therefore, they have an obligation to defend Amber Heard. And while in the factual scenario, they say, oh, we got her a lawyer and they froze us out, they weren't letting us make decisions, then you should have had a lawyer at every single step of the case. You should have had a lawyer involved in every part of the case. Because if you didn't, then you acted in bad faith, in my opinion. And what happens when you act in bad faith as an insurance company and then you go lose? Well, what can happen is sometimes the defendant, if the insurance company refuses to pay, right, and that's their bad faith action, or they refuse to help in your defense, which they should have, and they didn't in this case, and therefore you go lose. Well, then the defendant can hire the plaintiff's lawyer, meaning Depp's team, and say, go get that money. Which in this case would be hard to happen since it's still open. There are still appeals, stuff like that. I realize stuff like that's happening, so it wouldn't actually happen here. But in car accident, wrongful death cases, it happens all the time, where the insurance company refuses to pay what they should pay. We go get a verdict above the policy, and the defendant doesn't have the money to pay it. So we can actually go and try to get the full amount from the insurance company. Not just $1 million, but the full $10.35 million. People are asking me to read the counterclaim. I don't have it. Yeah, way more info about the retained counsel. I've read some articles on it saying New York Marine did retain counsel. Amber Heard and her team refused to work with them. And if that was the case, then Amber Heard could be in trouble. I still think they should pay for the verdict, but they could be exonerated as far as providing a defense. However, I still think they should have had defense counsel on every email, every phone call, every hearing, every court appearance. They should have had defense counsel there, at least attempting to help. There's a lot of facts that could change these. But generally speaking, I'm of the position that if an insurance company writes a policy that they're going to cover somebody for something, they have to cover them for that. They have to cover Amber Heard for defamation. And that is the case even when the defendant denies wrongdoing. Because in lots of our cases, the person that we think is at fault for the accident says, I didn't do it. Insurance company doesn't offer money. We go prove they did do it and they were at fault. And we can still have potential bad faith claims, proving the insurance company still should have looked at the case and paid. All right, so there are a lot of good comments. So I'm going to read some of the ones that are starred. I'm going to come back and answer some more questions. So we're going to do a lot of question and answer here, because I know it's confusing for a lot of people that weren't up on it already. But if you sent this to me on Twitter, you kind of knew where we were. It may have been fast, maybe difficult to understand, but let's answer some questions here, okay? And as I put Suzanne Richardson's super sticker, which I'm very thankful for, up on the screen, I want to remind everybody to subscribe to The Lawyer You Know, and follow us on Instagram and Twitter. We're almost at 10K on Instagram, which is fun. We get like swipe up. That's fun, right? We just got verified on YouTube, which is cool. Social media stuff that I never thought would happen is happening. So that's fun. So thanks everybody for liking the video, subscribing. Joe, 1897 is when Bel Air Country Club was founded. It's my home course here in Bel Air, Florida. I'm sure a lot of people had that question. I didn't think about it until I see this now. Uncivil Law. What's up, Kurt? Can you school me a bit on the ripeness / standing of the insurance company versus Heard federal lawsuit? Because I am not sure there is yet a case or controversy, but Nate says there is, and I'm feeling confused. So I'll tell you, Kurt, that's an interesting question. And most jurisdictions won't boot a court or a case for this. They will either stay it or wait until it's a final. Some people think the final judgment is the final judgment. And this is actually a gray area that can be argued either way. Some people say final judgment is final judgment. Some courts will make you wait till after all the appeals are done. So it really depends on the court and how they view that. I'm not going to act like I know what it would say in California state or California federal court, but here we actually have a case that's going parallel. Well, we have a deck action saying an insurance policy should actually absolutely cover this claim. Insurance company is saying no. We are litigating the catastrophic injury case at the same time as the deck action. The judge is not going to make the decision in the in the deck action until we actually have a judgment. We're deposing insurance agents. We're ordering policies. We're seeing what they do in other cases. We have different releases coming in as evidence that we're litigating the deck action case, and also medical records and bills and factual testimony in the actual injury case. So they're happening actually at the same time, which somebody could argue, like you said, we don't have standing yet, but the judge understands why it makes sense to have these done at the same time. And that insurance company is in the case and defending it at the same time as well. Very interesting case. Zigzag. She chose not to use insurance attorneys. So there's a difference between choosing not to use the insurance company lawyers and asking for your own lawyers and picking your own lawyers. And that's up to the insurance company to fight. But Travelers, right? So everybody seems like, oh, it's obvious. She didn't want to use the insurance company lawyers, so she can pick her own. And I've told that to people. I say, if you want to pay for your own, pay for your own. Or you can have a free lawyer paid for by the insurance company when people call me about defense cases, because I don't represent insurance companies in defense cases like that. But Travelers is arguing, as we read in the first complaint, that the insured has the right to choose her own lawyer. So which is it? We have two different insurance companies arguing, and I love it. I love it. I hope Travelers wins, and I hope insureds get to pick their own lawyers, not somebody that really cares about the insurance company and protecting the insurance company, because the insurance company is their biggest client. And they can't screw the insurance company even in favor of the defendant, whose life and livelihood is on the line, because that's how it is now. Insurance company lawyers represent insurance companies and their interests. The defendant and the insured, yeah, they stand up at trial and say, I represent Amber Heard, but really they represent Travelers or New York Marine. Very interesting to me. Water Rags, thanks for the super sticker. Sunflower Forever. Love how you are factual and not emotional. Thank you. I appreciate that. I think a lot of people are going to be mad at me because of this, but I am always on the side of the little guy who signs this contract, pays their money. They see that they're covered for defamation, and then the insurance company tries to squirrel their way out of it and weasel their way out of it with an implied rule. Why wouldn't you just write it into the contract? According to California Section 533, nothing willful. Why just leave defamation or publishing libel and slander, which in a lot of definitions is a lie? And a lie is willful. You can't accidentally lie. That would be a mistake, not a lie. Did she take the policy out before the op-ed, knowing she would be sued? Regardless, she is okay to do. Right. So this is something I mentioned. Wouldn't it be interesting? Wouldn't that even say she knew what she was doing was wrong? She consulted defamation expert lawyers. She took out a defamation insurance policy. And to me, there's nothing wrong with that. Are you going to have a car insurance policy before you drive a car? No. But when you get by, like your 15-year-old, or I should say 14-year-old, but 15 or 16, when they start driving, you put them on the policy because now they could cause damage. She was writing this article. Now she could cause damage, and she gets insurance. I disagree with what she did. I disagree with her lies. I disagree with her malice. I disagree with her defamation. I absolutely think Johnny Depp should get paid this judgment based on the trial and the evidence I saw. So don't get me wrong there. But if she got insurance and paid for it, they should pay for the coverage she got. Roberta Alton, what do you think about Elaine saying in closing that Amber paid $6 million so could not donate to charity as pledged with Travelers paid, not Amber? I think that is a material misrepresentation to the court and something that should be looked into. I would be livid if I was Depp's lawyers and she did that. Knowingly lied to the jury or misrepresented this to the jury using insurance and the cloak, the invisible cloak that is thrown over insurance in all these trials, used it to try to hurt the plaintiff, Johnny Depp, in that case. I would be ticked. And stuff like this happens, and it is very annoying. Demurred. Travelers has a homeowner's liability policy, but New York Med has a commercial general liability policy. So do we know who named insured on the NYM GCL is? I think it's Amber Heard, but that's a good question. I don't know. Azam, what's up? Hey, Peter, not trying to quote Amber Heard here. Maybe I do. But yay for mornings with Lawyer You Know. Oh my, this is a heavy content for me at 3:50 a.m. I can't imagine listening to this that early, Azam. You're committed. Probably still need to rewatch later for better understanding. I agree. But thanks for being here. White Rags, can Elaine and Amber be sanctioned for lying? The court can sanction them, I guess. I don't think they will. Roberta Alton, get Kurt in the live with you. I do not have the capabilities of doing that. Rachel is not on here with me, so without her, I can't do stuff like that. So it's a one. I'm on my own here. Thomas Roach, if I committed arson and I know my insurance is not paying for willful not covered, well, then your insurance policy shouldn't say that they will cover arson. If they want to say they'll cover, accidental fires or something like that, fine. But this says defamation. It does not say accidental or negligent defamation. Stella by the Sea. But AH was not injured. She is the defamator. Stella by the Sea. A lot of people don't know this. Homeowners insurance does not actually cover the insured. So my policy, if I slip on water in my house, I cannot sue my homeowners insurance. If you, Stella, came to my house and slipped on water, you sue my insurance policy. You sue me and my insurance policy covers it. So they don't pay for injuries to the insureds. They pay for injuries caused by the insureds. That's why they are liability policies. Interesting, huh? Okay. Fuel. Does implied override implicit statement? So, Fuel, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm a judge and I'm going to make the decision in this case. This is the crux of the case, this question. What should it be? The implication or the four corners of the document? And I am a firm believer that a lay person that signs a document written by the insurance company, because documents are usually read in a light most favorable to the person or party that did not draft the document. The insurance company absolutely could have written this in the document. Amber Heard very likely would have still signed it. Then it would be a different case. But this seems shady to me. It's like I tell you that I'm going to sell you this hat. Actually, yeah, it would be like me telling you, I'm going to sell you this hat, right? And you pay me for this hat. And I send you this hat. And I say, oh, well, it's implied that it's not actually this hat. It's a hat that kind of looks like this hat. It's like, well, no, you said you were going to sell me this hat. Well, we have a rule that's implied that you don't actually have to sell the exact hat that you say you're going to sell. Shouldn't be like that. I should put a disclaimer saying it's not this actual hat. That's what contracts are for. That's what words are for. I'm sure I can think of a better analogy than that, and I will eventually. Emily, she took out the policy 2 months before publishing the defaming op-ed. Isn't that almost insurance fraud? Emily said. It's not insurance fraud. It's not. And again, something that happens a lot of times in these cases, like life insurance policies. Whenever I get another, I have a couple life insurance policies. Whenever I get another one, they come in and do a full gamut of tests on me to see if I'm healthy, how old I am, if I'm going to die soon or late or earlier or later, sooner or later, whatever it may mean. And they determine the amount based on that. There are actuaries that determine risk when they write these policies. So the only way that she committed insurance fraud is if they point blank asked her, are you planning on writing any articles about somebody? And she said no. And then she went and wrote that policy. But she's a celebrity. She's an influencer. She's doing stuff like that. They should have asked her that stuff. They should have said, are you planning on doing stuff like this and taking that into account? And they could have refused to write the policy. They could have charged her more for the policy. That's how insurance works. What's the movie Along Came Polly? Isn't that what he did? He assessed risk. That's what insurance companies do. Nicholas Starro, the language in the contract and the statute in California seems contradictory at first glance. Can you find the cases that is a base for the statute? I'm sure we could find them and we can look into them. I think that's going to come out more in this litigation. But we'll see if what the precedent is, because I don't know what the precedent is in California federal law. But it sure seems unfair if you can have a layperson, if you can have big billion-dollar insurance industry writing these contracts, having a layperson pay for something that they think they're getting while the insurance company knows full well they're not providing coverage for that. I've had insurance companies try to deny coverage because one of my clients forgot to change their address a month ago for their car insurance. Now, how that affects why they would cover them for car insurance is beyond me, but they try to do that. Sometimes it's 5 years they change their address and they keep renewing the policy. They keep collecting premiums. And I tell the insurance company, okay, fine. If you don't want to cover this claim, send back all of their premiums they've paid over the last 5 years because you weren't actually providing them the coverage you said you were going to provide them. And every single time they withdraw their denial of coverage based on a technicality. Now, this is different. We're talking about, $10 million here. But insurance companies try to do stuff like this all the time. Barbara Kangas, I can't get past the malicious part. If I light my house on fire because I want a new one, should they pay for it? No, Barbara. And there is no insurance. I shouldn't say that, right? Yes, they should pay for it if they say that they would cover intentional arson. Yes. But most policies make it very clear that they will not cover that. Porcelain Thunder. What kind of moron would underwrite this in the first place? Porcelain Thunder. That is a great question, and you are right. I do think it was not smart to cover her for defamation. But if they did, don't you think they should pay for it? Stella by the Sea, please recap slowly and simply for us laymen. I try to do my best. Maybe a rewatch on 0.5 speed will help. Beverly LM. So how long was this policy for? AH caused the acts of violence between 2015 and 2017. Defamation was 2018. So why would the insurance pay for it? The year of violence wasn't covered. The violence, no, they would be covering the defamation in 2018. Insurance policies are very commonly 12-month policies. So she could have had this policy for 10 years, but each individual policy maybe was just a 1-year period of time. That's what they indicated here was 1 year. Maybe they dropped her after 2018 because they saw what happened. I don't really know that, but this was a 1-year term, it seemed like. Brian Ailman. She'll still end up paying the next time her homeowners and policy is up for renewal. That premium will probably be very, very high. Brian, you are correct. And insurance companies are allowed to do this. And it's a horrible thing sometimes. But the reason they're allowed to do this is because they charge high premiums and they cover instances that are in those contracts like this, and they should cover it. Thank you, Danielle. Light Giver. Traverse Commercial Policy Insurance has already paid well over $5 million to her lawyers. Both Aline and Amber lied about Amber paying the $6 million. If Travelers paid it and they said Amber paid it, there's no other way to look at that as a lie, unless, I will tell you, sometimes it's very annoying. I'm not going to say judges allow people to lie on the stand, but they allow them to say things that, I don't know how else to say this, but aren't literally true in order to not violate the non-joinder statute, which means you cannot say insurance, you cannot bring insurance into the case. So therefore they can say Amber Heard paid this via the insurance coverage she paid for, and therefore it's not technically a lie if the judge allowed it. So that is a caveat. Just one. Isn't it suspect she had 2 policies for defamation? Absolutely. But she had them. And they said they were going to cover her. Nobody forced them. Nobody forces any insurance company to cover you. I promise you that. Grace J. Please read the counterclaim complaint against Travelers. Way more info about the retained counsel. I will look into that. It's probably going to have to be a separate video. Seems like a lot of interest here. And to me, I love this stuff. So maybe we'll look at insurance policies and maybe we'll look at that counterclaim in a future video. Nicholas, I think AH has a good case here, but she has Elaine as her rep, and that speaks against her. Jordan Pollard, wouldn't the misrepresentation of payment during AH's case in chief in closing be a bar violation by AH's attorneys? I think so. Mystified, it's a liability policy, not a defamation policy, except that it includes defamation within that liability it's covering. So I disagree. I think it is a defamation policy, basically. Azam. So both of those, AH's insurance, confused. Yes, both of them are policies she has. But if I am not mistaken, I think I want AH to win as well so JD can receive his money, right? Absolutely. Absolutely. When defendants do something wrong and they have insurance in place, I hope the insurance pays for it. Thank you, Daniel Brogdon. Tanya, I am so lost. Hopefully, I can help you out here. Am I right in thinking one insurance company paid for the lawyers? If so, then Amber and Elaine lied about the $7 million being used because she was sued? It seems like you would be right there. And I can understand why it's confusing because people are saying, once again, it seems like an MO, this is my right hand. Even though we can all see this is clearly my left hand. I paid for attorney's fees. It's like you didn't. April Wright, I agree. Why pay for insurance if they are not going to provide the services that you pay for? Amber has the right to have them pay. Seems simple, April. Hopefully, the judge or the jury makes the right decision. Jackie DBD Stitchart. My son is in Scotland for the British Open. I am so jealous. Our family is from Edinburgh. I've been there before. Dad's uncle has a room named for him at St. Andrews. I have stayed there before. What's Dad's uncle's name, Jackie? That's amazing. Thanks for that comment. Lisa Woodhart. Andrea Burkhart, new video, 2021 case between two insurance companies. Travelers paid $5 million through for 2022 to EB and her firm. They misled in closing about Amber Heard. Didn't pay the pledges because of the $6 million in attorney's fees. Thoughts? I think it's horrible, despicable. I hate when defense lawyers do stuff like this, and they always are protected by insurance. This squirrely stuff happens, and these half truths happen because of big insurance, because of their lobbyists, because they do not want a jury. I just don't understand why we mislead juries. Why can't we tell them there's insurance here? Why can't we tell them they have a policy? This is how much the policy's for. Insurance companies try to hide the truth. There's no other way to say it. They try to hide the truth, in my opinion. Now, they can turn around to me and say, you're being like Amber Heard's lawyers, complaining about the rules of evidence. And they would technically be right. Maybe I'm wrong here. That's just how I feel. That's just one man's opinion. It's not a fact. It's an opinion. I think that juries should be able to know about insurance policies. Save it for another day, Peter. Vintage Willow. Why have defamation in there directly if they knew they wouldn't cover it? Well, Vintage Willow, maybe that's what Amber Heard wanted coverage for. And in order to get her to pay for the policy and pay for that premium, they had to put defamation in there. And then they collected that check and hoped they would never have to pay for it. But once it came to roost, they said, oh, no. It's implied. We don't have to pay for this. Demurred. Independent counsel issue depends on which state law controls. If policy is delivered in California and insurer issued reservation of rights, insured entitled to independent counsel in California called cumus counsel. Interesting. And we can have more deep dives on this. Danielle Brogdon. She chose her path she wanted to take. I think at this point, even talking about her and her bad choices is pointless. How about the Petito case? Plenty to talk about there. Emily, order of payouts. 1, attorneys and witnesses. 2, $25K a month rent for trial plus security. 3, Johnny, installments. When you buy a house, insert bad apology. Bev, what's up? Did you catch Andrea B's video today? I didn't. Her opinion. Elaine is in the throes of this / up to no good. AH testified she couldn't afford money because her legal costs were so high, yet insurance companies paid Elaine's fees. Sorry I've discussed. Join the chat late, Beverly. No problem. You're always welcome here. Thank you again for another super chat. Yes, Elaine is not looking good right now. Not looking good. Melanie, I think most of us appreciate you, Uhtred. Thank you. And I think so too. I'm just messing around with most people. And it's okay. I know you guys are intense and passionate about this. And, so am I. So it's a fun combo. Grace, the counsel NYM appointed was initially retained by AH for 5 months before she even tendered the claim to New York Marine, new counsel within a week of their approval. Bobby Cat, hello, Peter. I've learned so much watching you these last few months. I'm so confused why no repercussions for all the lies told under oath. I agree. I agree. It's confusing. Mimi, you skipped the part in the second document that has all the info about the lawyers. Section 14 might change your mind. You know what? I think you're right. I think I did skip part of it, and I remember reading it before. Let's see. I think I read the first cause of action. Let's go ahead and read those other causes of action here real quick. Whoops. Whoops. All right. They're not liable. Third cause of action. What paragraphs did they say it was in? Okay, 14, 15, 16, then 43 and 44. So there's 43. New York Marine is informed and believes, and on such information and belief, that they accepted Heard's defense, both individually and through her agents. Heard refused to help New York Marine with the conduct of the suit and instructed other defense firms representing Heard not to include defense counsel provided by New York Marine in the ongoing defense of Heard in the underlying action. An actual controversy has arisen and now exists between plaintiff on the one hand and Heard on the other hand with regard to the duties and obligations owned between plaintiff and Heard under the policy with respect to whether New York Marine is obligated to defend Heard in the underlying action. Plaintiff contends that it has no duty to defend her based on the failure to comply with the conditions of the policy. Plaintiff is informed and believed, and on such information and belief, alleges that Heard disputes plaintiff's contentions and asserts that the policy obligates New York Marine to continue to defend Heard on an ongoing basis. Then the other ones I said 14, 15, 16. Let's go there. They said they would provide a legal defense and advise the legal defense, but that to the extent California does not permit an insurer to indemnify the insured, no indemnity can be provided. At the time, the law firm Cameron McAvoy was defending Heard in underlying action. When New York Marine accepted, New York Marine agreed to continue in the defense through the law firm of Cameron McAvoy. New York Marine was informed and believes on such information that Heard and her agents instructed other firms defending her to not include them on the ongoing defense. Right. I mentioned this already. Thank you for reminding me. I'm glad we were able to see it in black and white and everybody else could see it. So this to me would be Amber Heard's best argument. If she did not cooperate, then insurance companies can deny claims. But they make all these other arguments as well. And these are some of the factual scenarios I want to know more about. I also want to know if Travelers is right saying that in California, the insured has the right to choose their own counsel. Usually insurance companies stick together, but not when one sticks you with the bill for $6 million in attorney's fees. Thank you, Scruffy. So interesting to see who's going to come out on top here. John O'Rourke. AH completely refused NYM insurance. I thought AH could use their lawyers, but choose her own to oversee her best interest. Absolutely. She can hire her own and they can work in with insurance defense lawyers. And that happens in a lot of cases. Also, does it matter what order these cases happen in? Does intentional malice play a part? Of course it plays a part. That's going to be the crux. Tori, thank the gods for you. I love that you tell the facts, not what the masses want to hear. AH also implied she paid lawyers on the stand. Grace over vengeance. I agree. Lisa F. Did insurance company wanted it both ways by how policy is worded? I think so. Have their cake and eat it too. It's been said defamation is hard to win in California. Does insurance company weigh percentage of defamation case won? It's low. Very, very likely. Very likely that comes into their actuarial equation. Beverly, how does jurisdiction work in an insurance suit when the company is national? You're in Florida, I'm in Texas. Could Tragos represent me if I needed it hypothetically? Yes. We could do a pro hoc vice. We could work with lawyers in Texas. There's lots of different ways to have that happen. Lots of different ways. And we have cases in states all over the country. Stella by the Seas, thank you for explaining. I feel dumb. Don't. Very confusing. so much going on and so many different jurisdictions, different insurance policies. Lawyers can be very convincing. So they draft a complaint or they draft a motion or a memorandum of law, and you read it and you say, that makes a lot of sense. But that's why we've got to listen to both sides, hear the actual evidence come out, and then make a decision. Mystified. I guess you're right, but I don't like it. That's why I love you, Mystified. Stick around and just be open. Demurred. Definition of occurrence is accidental. This personal injury doesn't get past insuring agreement and specific exclusions. The knowledge of falsity and intentional acts. AH bought coverage if she accidentally slandered. We will see, I guess, right? If you have that definition, if it's in the insurance policy, boom, you're right. If they only insure accidental defamation, I'd like to look at that definition. I'd like to see that cause of action of accidental defamation, right? I'd like to see that. Lisa F. When AH said she personally paid $6 million, I knew at the time it was a lie because she lies about everything. I saw all commentary take her STM as fact, statement as fact. Why? Because we don't like to think people are going to sit there and lie under oath. Lauren Hertz. Make sure you read members' anniversary chat. I will try to. I haven't seen it yet. Lailani Borsa. How does this work if she only has 1 year of paid coverage? Could they get out of paying since the verdict was many years after she stopped paying for the insurance company? Great question, Lailani. The way insurance works is they cover claims that occur within the time period the policy is in effect. Meaning, if I do something in 2018 and you sue me in 2022, the policy that will take effect is the policy I had in 2018, regardless of what policy, if any, I have in 2022. So they have to cover me for what I do in 2018 for the rest of my life, within the statute of limitations, of course. But everything I do in 2018, that's when they cover me. It's when the incident occurred, when the defamation occurred. Lisa F says, my guess is AH wins this and gets covered. J. Anna Corina A, thank you for the super chat. John O'Rourke. Azam at 3 a.m. is the GOAT. Agree. Hope insurance pays and Johnny gets his Skrilo. Zigzag. So she gets away without paying anything. I don't think that they're going to pay everything. I'm just saying maybe they each pay their $1 million and she still owes $8.5 million. That at least gives Johnny something, and she still has to pay a lot. She needs to suffer. Someone saves the floppy fish market again. Nicole, yay, finally get your point. You've earned your super chats tonight. Trey goes, thanks for providing clarity on a confusing situation. Thank you. And I'm not saying I can guarantee what the outcome is going to be, right? I don't want anybody to confuse that. I'm just saying I make these arguments a lot. Here's what I think, especially from a public policy situation, and more facts could absolutely change my mind. Facts are how we make decisions. But public policy and laws, we can talk about whether or not we think they're fair and whether or not they should be that way. And that's why I love getting your input on it. Thanks again, Nicole. J. Karina A. Hi, Peter. Love the channel. Thank you. Sherry Dillon, thanks for the super sticker. Dr. Industry Rajan, what's up? Hi, Peter. I'm so out of touch as I've been buried in work. True to BPD. AH's hyper-focused inability to let go of JD continues. I see if AH wins this, JD benefits. Is this a moot point because of 9F Juror 15 issue? I'm still open to see if Juror 15 is actually going to cause a mistrial. But yes, if they both tender $1 million to Johnny Depp, I consider that a win for Johnny Depp. Shelly Coleman. AH likely researched complaints that would cover defamation or was coached to do so. Possibly. Thomas Roach. It's pretty bad when people want insurance companies over AH. You got me there, Thomas. That is the truth. Great comment. Mo, what's up? I'm confused. Did the insurance company pay out anything? Travelers paid for attorney's fees. New York Marine seems like they have not paid for the majority of these attorney's fees. Travelers also paid for experts, which that's the point. If New York Marine was not involved, they could say, I don't want that expert, too expensive. I want a different expert. And if they weren't given the opportunity to do so, then that's a good argument for them. Peter, his name is John Charles Burrell. So the John Charles Burrell room in St. Andrews, if anybody's over there in Scotland and you have the opportunity to go to that hotel, maybe we ask to stay in that room. And if I ever find myself back there, I will request the John Charles Burrell room. Demurred. It's illegal in U.S. to write an insurance policy covering intentional conduct, so policies have to exclude it. I have never seen that law. Nicholas Starro. After 3 years analyzing document in EU Parliament, I know there's more than one interpretation when it comes to wordings. Are we sure AH/EB said what we think they said? It's a good point. Maybe there's some caveats there. Emily is a new member. Awesome. Thanks for joining us. Tracy Jules, $20 super sticker. Thank you very much. Kenna B. Chris Melcher said on Popcorn Planet, Amber refused to work with lawyers insurance company hired and refused to turn over info to defend her and Elaine, refused to work with them too. That's why they're not paying. And that could be a legitimate reason for denying the claim. It absolutely could. We'll see. Demurred. EB and Rottenborn with different firms, so I've always thought one retained by insurance, other independent. Could be. I don't know. Haven't seen the fee contracts. Leilani Borsa, thank you for all the great info. Appreciate it. Thank you. Did AH say paid $6 million or it's already cost $6 million? I don't have the quotes. So again, but they definitely wanted the jury to think the reason she didn't personally pay the $7 million to the charities was because of the cost of litigation. And that's where they said $6 million. So I feel comfortable enough saying they misled the jury. So I don't want to say they lied. I don't want to say they boldface lied. But if they misrepresented that to the jury, that's where I have a problem. Yeah, Liesel says maybe she pledged the $6 million to the lawyers. Or the money was paid on her behalf. Barbara Kangas, I hear you're passionate about this. I have a feeling you're going to need a drink after this session. Here's my contribution. Love your insights. Thank you so much, Barbara. Zachary Mama. Hey, Peter, happy Sunday. I'm late to the game. So in the U.S., people have insurance for defamation. I've never seen it. I look at a lot of insurance policies. I've never noticed defamation being in there. Very unusual. And somebody else keeps commenting that they can't do intentional torts. I have never seen one insuring intentional torts. So if that's a law, I've never seen it, but very, very interesting. And insurance policies absolutely do insure from time to time intentional conduct, because when there are certain employment intentional conduct that I have seen insured, like when you fire somebody or you don't pay them overtime, sometimes that can be intentional conduct covered in insurance policies. So it's interesting to see, what California law does. Demurred. AH also has to have excess policies, potentially. I haven't seen them. Woo! Okay. There's a lot of questions, and we're over an hour. You all are awesome. I appreciate all the questions. But I think we're going to have to call it here. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Get into it there. I appreciate everybody being here. I appreciate all the comments. A couple big super chats that were awesome. Bev, of course, Nicole Wheeler, a lot of people. I appreciate all you guys joining us here. Hit the like button on your way out. There will be more content on this. Send me stuff on Twitter that you find on this. And if enough of you send it to me and the bat signal goes up, then I'll be back talking more about this. This was very interesting to me. Very interesting. A different twist on this Amber Heard case. So I appreciate you always, as always, coming on. Last question here from Mo. I feel like AH is a gaslighting queen, always making me second guess my own thoughts. This whole thing is so messy. I agree. It's crazy. I appreciate you all. I appreciate you being here. Azam, thanks for the super sticker. Like the video on the way out. Until next time, I'm out of here.